Hello, and welcome back to the Thought Cloud podcast. Our goal of this conversation is to uncover a hidden gem that can inspire others along their academic journey. Our guests today are Zoe Pizzuti and Suri Lee. They are both juniors at the University of Michigan, where they serve on the board of WA, which is short for Women in Aeronautics and Astronautics. They're both studying aerospace, aeronautical, and astronautical engineering. So we're excited to dig into their story, why they are so in love with this field, how they have been able to immerse themselves in it on campus, and see where they are headed in the future. So thank you both of you for coming on. This is cool. This is only the second time that I've had a multiple person podcast, so I'm excited.
Oh, fun. Thank you for having us.
Yeah,
Definitely,
we're both really excited to be here.
definitely. So let's kick it off from the beginning. How did you both decide to study at UMich?
Um, so for me, I live in Michigan. I'm from Michigan. Um, and I kind of grew up just knowing the academic prestige and also just the amount of fun that students at Michigan have. And I've kind of always really wanted to have a college culture where you can have both, where you can work really, really hard during the week, and on the weekends you can go to a football game and spend time with your friends. Um, and you can kind of have both of those lives at the same time. And then when you graduate, you have so many opportunities um, in whatever field you do choose.
Sorry, what about you? How come you decided to go to the University of Michigan?
Yeah, so I'm originally from Massachusetts, so I knew I wanted to go somewhere far away. So I applied to a bunch of universities out of state, and I found out that Michigan's aerospace program is like one of the best in the nation. And they also gave me a lot of money, so it was very tempting to come here. And I looked into it a little, and I'm a big sports girl, so I saw like their sports are all really good. They have a really good aerospace program, and it just seemed like the perfect fit.
That is awesome. That is awesome. Well, I really like that you guys have a balance to your approach. It wasn't so strict on one side or the other, whether that be having fun or also excelling in your academic, path. And I think that's awesome. And I've heard great things about the aerospace, department over there. And technically aerospace, aeronautical, astronautical engineering is what you're studying. So where did this come into the picture? Why did you decide that this is what you wanted to focus on and pursue?
I think for me, I've always had a major curiosity when it comes to space, and not only just like planets and stars and moons and whatever, but also just stuff that goes to space. Um, I know growing up, I was always at like my local nature center, and they had like nights where they would bring out all of their telescopes, and you would be able to like look into the night sky. And I feel like just from a young age, my parents got this love of space ingrained in me. Um, and also growing up, I really, really liked math and science. And so I didn't just want to be able to like look at the stuff that was out there. I wanted to be able to build the stuff that went there. And so that for me is mostly why I chose aerospace.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
For me, I also really loved math and science, so I knew I wanted to do engineering, but I had no idea what kind. So I like Googled different types of engineering, and they all sounded like kind of boring. And then I found aerospace, and I was like, oh, that's really cool. Like it's a field where we don't really know much yet, or like it's something that's like always being further developed. It's like a very new industry. So I just thought it was really cool, and it's super exciting. And I always love stargazing because I'm from like a little town with no light pollution, so I could always see all the stars. So it was
Very
nice.
cool. Very cool. Well, what do you hope to do with it? Like what, you said it's exciting and obviously from a young age you both have been interested in like this sort of discipline, sciencey, mathy, engineering minds. But what are you looking forward to with the future of this field and what do you see your ability to contribute looking like?
Sorry, you want to take this one
Yeah, sure.
first?
Yeah, like I said before, the huge draw for me was that it's like a fairly new developing field. So like I really want to just like find something that or like do something and help to build something that's never been done before. So like maybe a new type of rocket or new propulsion or like sustainability and stuff like that. I thought the huge draw was like just doing things that no one had ever done before. So that's my hopes.
Love that.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say my hopes lie along the same line. Just doing something that hasn't been done before, pushing the boundaries um of what's out there, and also just exploring, seeing what's out there, getting further and further. Um, that's always been one of my passions. And then also in my like never grew up energy, I always am like pushing my goal of wanting to be an astronaut. So like that's always been something that's been a dream of mine, or at least being able to go to space at least once in my life.
Oh,
Um, and I think it would be so, I think my starting point is being able to make something that gets there. So
definitely.
that's mostly what I want to do with it, and I hope it develops into more opportunities.
No, 100%. And I love that this field is so new and that there are more and more people starting to realize, hey, there's a lot that can be done here. And so to hear you both say, like, I want to do something that's never been done before, that takes a lot of courage. And, for you to be so definite in that, I just have a lot of respect for that. So I'm rooting each of you on and hoping that you get to achieve that. So the next thing I want to talk about is your involvement in WA. So women in astronautics and aeronautics. I don't know if it's aeronautics first or astronautics first, but WA, talk to me about WA. So how did you decide to join? Why was this the club that stood out to you, the student org that stood out to you that you said, I want to be a part of it? And how has that shaped your academic path?
I think as a um as a student in high school, my first experience actually seeing the university was actually after I'd already committed to going here. But I went to an open house in the aerospace department, and they basically were just showing um the projects they were working on, the classes they were developing. Professors were there, student orgs were there, and one of the student orgs that had a table at this event was WA. And I remember walking up and just seeing the people behind the table and knowing that that's like who I wanted to surround myself with. And they just seemed so kind, and they didn't they talk to me like I was a college student. They didn't talk to me like I was a high schooler, some measly high schooler. And I felt really welcomed by them. And I knew the first organization that I wanted to join on campus was WA. Um, and it's one of the only organizations that I've felt connected to, especially through starting college during the really, really highest point in the pandemic. That caused a lot of struggles, and having an organization filled with um, other women and minorities in aerospace um, was one of the only ways I actually felt connected to Michigan. Um, so yeah, that was the main reason I decided to join.
My goodness. What about you, Sari?
I like I mentioned before, I grew up in a really small town, so it was like majority white. I was the only person of color like in my entire grade or something. It was like really small-minded and like white majority. So um I've always been really passionate about diversity, equity, and inclusion since I was very young because I've had to like deal with struggling through things because I was either a woman or like a person of color or something like that. So I've always been inspired by women in STEM throughout my whole life, like always growing up. And there's actually a woman astronaut that grew up not too far from me. So people like that made me really interested in engineering. So um, yeah, I was really passionate about um, being inspired by other women and other people of color. And I wanted to be the people that or the person that young women would also look up to, like I did with that astronaut that lived by me. So I thought WA was the perfect place to start. Like I knew I had to join because it was already something I was very passionate and interested in. So it was like the obvious choice.
That's so cool. I love it. Well, there's a lot of depth behind both of those answers. And I don't know if people always join a student org because it connects with them so much, but there is a serious connection between the student org and both of you, which is so cool. I can only imagine that camaraderie and everything that you've been able to feel going through it. And how do you think it has impacted your academic development or your career trajectory? Like, how has that shaped you going forward?
I think WA has definitely helped. I mean, part of WA's main goal is to help its members connect to the industry and develop professional connections. And I feel like we have both really strongly benefited from that. But our main academic development, I would say, comes from our roles as conference co-chairs. So we have our uh, annual Women in Aerospace conference, and Suri and I this year are in charge of planning it. And I think that job this year has at least shown me so much, um, helped me gain so many connections to people in the industry, to faculty, just to other members of the community, and also just given us a lot of responsibility that we also need to balance with our academics. Um, and so I think that has been the biggest um, role through WA that has shaped me, um, definitely.
Definitely. Are you saying that balance is a huge thing there? That idea that you're having to take on these workloads that are falling outside of your academic, regimen, but also what that's bringing you from a, fulfillment sense. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Mhm.
Definitely, definitely, definitely. What about you, Suri? What are your thoughts there?
I just love that WA has kind of given me a great sense of community within our club. So it's great. Like I've met so many really good friends like Zoe and a lot of our other women in aerospace. So yeah, I just love how close we can get, how we can rely on each other and always support each other. And I actually got my position at Lockheed Martin through of the events that WA put on early in the fall or winter. Um, so yeah, it's really helped me a lot. It's helped me find what direction I want to go into in terms of like classes, but also it helped me get into an industry that I really am passionate about. So
Totally, totally, totally. Well, I love that. I love that you guys have been able to open up those opportunities and again feel so close to someone. I honestly will say I don't think I've heard of someone like a club that someone has been so attached to for their fundamental purpose. That's so great to see that. I'm really happy for both of you there and everybody else in the club. I think that's wonderful. So the next question is, what do you hope to do after college? Because you can do a lot, right? This whole field is emerging. There's a lot of different avenues you can take. Where do you want to take it? What do you want to do?
um so like I said, I'm at Lockheed Martin right now. And I actually love it here. I love the work-life balance. It's amazing and I love all the people and the company values itself. So, my plan is to at least do one more internship here before I graduate after this summer. And then my plan is to get a 1-year master's through Michigan. So we have an accelerated master's program. And then hopefully, I don't know. I don't know what comes after that. Maybe I'll stay with Lockheed because I just love it so much, or maybe I'll try another space company. But yeah, I think everything's up in the air right now. I'm not in really a rush to decide,
Right.
especially since I already have my foot in the door. So I'm just playing it as it comes, I guess.
Totally. No, and I think that master's year too is going to be a good time to figure out kind of what direction you want to take. It almost reminds me, my buddy at SC did a like that extended year and he did it with biomedical and he was able to kind of do those internships and kind of ease his way into different fields to see what he liked to do, so
Yeah,
or different subsets of his field. So yeah, no, I definitely see where you're going with that approach. No rush at all, no rush at all. What about
exactly.
you, Zoe? What are your thoughts? Where are you thinking you want to head at end up?
Yeah, I think, I mean, my plans definitely align at least a little bit with Suri's. I'm also planning on doing the accelerated master's program. I currently don't have my foot in the door. I actually studied abroad this summer, um, and I worked in a lab in Berlin. But hopefully, the next 2 summers, I can get my foot in the door with internships. And yeah, I'm also looking to work more on the space side of the industry. I know for sure I want to get a master's, kind of up in the air. Maybe I want to get a PhD. I kind of like the idea of having one topic that you know the most about,
Yeah.
like in the world. Like that sounds really cool to me. At least that's how one of my professors kind of described that to me as, and that really piqued my interest. It just sounds so cool.
Totally.
Um, and so if that does happen, I'll probably end up somewhere more on the research side, um, or at least working somewhat in research. I do have a passion for it even now. Um, so yeah, not 100% sure what happens after the next 2 years, 3 years, but we'll see.
I love it though. I love it. And I think that's awesome. I mean, you're at that junior year and it sounds like you both have a solid direction of what next steps need to be taken. So you're in a great spot. I'm excited to see what you're able to do. It's been awesome to hear about why you're interested in this space, what you've been able to explore, and where you hope to go. We're going to close it out now with our rapid fire round, and we're going to see what we're able to tackle here. So the first question, and you can both just shoot off your answer. The first question is, what is the most stressful part of being a student day in and day out?
Personally for me, it's like finding a balance between working and like having a social life or like finding time to go to the gym or like exercise or do all these different things. So that's the most stressful part for me.
Yeah, I would say the same thing. Just finding a balance in your time. For me, it's less, I try to prioritize my social time, but my time that's difficult to plan is like eating. Like it's hard to cook for like
It
40
is.
minutes and then eat dinner. Like that's hard.
Oh my gosh, I'm dying. I can
especially when
definitely relate.
especially when you have aero homework to do. Aerospace homework
It's
does
so much.
not go by very quickly.
Oh
So
my goodness.
it's tough.
Hey, we got to get through it. I love it. Oh my gosh. Okay, next question. Let's see. What is the most meaningful way for students to help each other?
That's so deep.
I know.
Um, I think just finding a way to plug yourself into a community that you think that you can help. Um, I know both of us joining WA, we really looked forward to getting poured into by mentors, by students who are older than us, and now we're kind of turning into those older students that people can reach out to and ask for advice and look up to. And so I think watching yourself grow through a community is such a good way for you to receive help and also to give back to your fellow students.
Yeah. I have to agree with that. And I think just like being like a rock for your friends to lean on when they need help and like always being willing to help some of the younger students and answer their questions or like helping your peers and such. I think that's very important.
All right, next question. What is your biggest hope to accomplish during your time on Earth?
There are so many opportunities. Um, Zoe mentioned this before, but like going to space, I think that is my biggest goal in life. I think that's like the top tier. If I had to do if I have to choose to do one thing, that would be my one thing, just to go to space for like even a day, even a few
Wow,
hours. I'll
wow,
do it. It would be so fun.
wow. That's super cool.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think it's such a lofty goal, but if there was one thing I could pick, it would be that. But my less lofty goal that I think I can actually, or that I know I can actually accomplish if I try, is just like being able to help people. Um, I know as engineers, you kind of see your job as just like building stuff and letting it do its thing, but the implications of a lot of what we'll do for work can have insane positive impacts um, on society potentially.
Definitely.
So hoping to put some good into the world.
Totally, totally, totally. Well, when you both go to space, do let me know. I'd love to would love to tag along. But no, I hear you loud and clear with everything you're saying. So I think that's great. So next question, advice for students looking to get into UMich. What would be the top piece of advice?
Um, I think it's really important to be really honest on your like college essay. You have to be really honest and your story has to be really like unique and um it has to be very important to yourself. Like don't make up some random story for your college essay. It needs to be something that like is deeply impactful in your life. And I think the admissions people at Michigan really look for that and really see that in the applicants that they get and that they admit into the school. So yeah, I think that's the biggest thing that I would stress.
Yeah, and I think I agree with that 100%, just being very real, very genuine. But I also think plugging into your community wherever you are now is very, very important. I know I always got the advice from my like guidance counselors and things saying like just don't have just like a laundry list of clubs that you're in all of them, but you don't really have anything that you can say that you've done
Right.
to either help your club or help your community, right? And so um picking what you're truly interested in, finding groups, finding communities um where you are in high school that you know that you can plug in, you can help, you can receive help. Um that's really, really important because that honestly, the same thing happens in college. Like, you don't really have the time to do a laundry list of things and only do each one a little bit, but it really is a game of picking and choosing what you're truly interested in, what you feel the most connected to, and being able to do actual work with those organizations.
Definitely, definitely, definitely. I think both great piece of advices. Great pieces of advice. Just being your genuine self and obviously committing yourself to something that you can do. I think they fall hand in hand with each other and definitely complement all sorts of that person's journey. So, last question here. What is your top piece of advice for those who are early in their educational journey? We're just getting started. We're looking for some direction.
Um, the one thing that's like most important to me to give advice about to other people is that things go wrong all the time. Like you, in college, no matter how well you did in high school, like you're definitely gonna fail homework or fail a test or exam or something, and it's completely okay. Like it's not the end of the world. And learning to live with that was like a big thing that I had to cope with. Like no matter what you do, there's some fallback that's going to happen, however small, however big. And it's really important to learn how to deal with those things and find ways to work around it. And I found that even like in industry right now at my internship, that's a huge thing. Like you are definitely going to do something wrong, especially if you're just starting, and it's completely okay if that happens. Um, and then my second piece of advice would just be don't be afraid to ask questions because um it's better to just ask someone and get it out of the way that rather than just sit there and be frustrated. And that's definitely helped me get as far as I am right now.
Yeah, and I 100% agree with both of those things. And the only other thing that I could possibly add is just if you're not sure, if you're feeling directionless, try your best to receive all of the information possible. Like, go to all of your classes, reach out to a lot of clubs, see what's going on around you, and just it takes a lot of effort. I know a lot of my friends who ended up in aerospace who weren't sure at the beginning or have even switched out of aerospace because they found something else that they enjoyed more. They worked really, really hard to find their place,
Right.
um, and to find what they really wanted to do. And so don't be afraid. I would say don't be afraid to put the effort in, and just like put feelers out everywhere and really just focus on what comes back and which one makes you say, "Oh, that's interesting. I've never heard that before. Or I've never
Hmm.
seen this field in this light before. I want to learn more." So
Totally.
just like push through your curiosity.
I
Um,
love that. No, I love
yeah.
that. Yeah, great advice from both of you again. And, you've been so full of great advice. You've been able to share your stories so well. I think a lot of people will benefit from hearing this. And where can they follow you in the meantime in terms of keeping up with everything you're doing and maybe even reach out if someone's interested?
Yeah, so the club we're in, our Instagram is at U of M. You can follow us there and on LinkedIn to see what we're up to and follow updates with our Women in Aerospace conference, which is going on in November. So definitely look out for that. We have a lot of amazing speakers and panelists and mentors that are coming. And it's gonna be a great day. So definitely keep an eye out. As for my personal social media, all my social media is the same. It's at Suri Lee02.
Love it. Love it. What about you, Zoe? You're Zoe Pizzuti, right?
Yes, and all of my social media is just my first and last name. And you can find me on LinkedIn. I finally have one now. It took a it took a long time of putting it off, making the account and typing in my email, but I finally made it there.
Finally got her done. I love it. Well, it was so great having you both on. Thank you so much. And I'm really looking forward to seeing all you're able to accomplish in the near future.
Awesome. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you. This was really fun.